Now that we can get our data from Spark into MySQL,
Yes.
we want to get a bunch of queries written so that for the ones that will get our data and make them available in MySQL, so that we can then take that data and push it into Unity. So
Okay.
we've got all this data inside of JSON on S3, and we say all the raw captured data. We say let's just take that entire data set and stick it into MySQL, and that's actually a really bad idea. Because if we do that, then we have to have all this processing power to talk to all of the raw data inside of MySQL. Whereas Spark is this wonderful ETL tool, this wonderful pre-processing transformation tool. We can say, you know what, hey, let's get that data out of S3 on the raw data. We'll transform it into the exact state that we want it to be, that already answers the question that we want to have, and we'll push that fully ready data into MySQL. So then we go, hey, I want to look at where the players' pathways were through a particular level. We go, great, let's just talk to that table that already has everything pre-calculated as much as we possibly can.
Okay. And so you mentioned that we're going to be pre-populating these tables, and I've noticed that we have save mode overwrite here. Is that because every time that we're going to be pushing, we're going to be overwriting the previous data in there, or are we going to be aggregating it and keeping it?
We are going to be keeping the raw data itself on S3 for now in JSON. After we've done some other changes, we will convert that to a different format on S3. But ultimately, we'll have all the raw data on S3, and then we'll say, to answer this particular question, I'll take just the set that I want, and I'll stick it over into MySQL. But your question about this part here of save mode overwrite, we will do overwrite. We'll say whatever you've got over there in MySQL, completely drop it and add the new set that we've got for you.
Okay, so we've always got the most up-to-date data that we're querying.
Yep. So if we say, hey, I want to get, we've been having this for a long time now, today I'm pushing January to February over into MySQL. And then we go, well, that's only 1 month worth of data. But then we come back and we go, all right, it's been another period of time. It's now we've got 4 months worth of data. Let's push all of that over to MySQL. We go, well, we've got it all on S3. We'll load it all into Spark. Spark will pre-process and answer the question that we want. And we'll stick all of that January to April data, 4 months May. We'll push that 5 months worth of data into Aurora, into MySQL.
Yeah.
And we'll do that by saying completely overwrite whatever you have in MySQL. Drop it and take this entire 5 months worth of data in there. Instead of just saying, hey, just have 4 months. Hey, just have a little bit. Just have today's month.
So that makes it very quick for MySQL to query this data.
Correct.
But overall, what MySQL is doing seems very limited.
Correct. It's just a way for us to, hey, give me the answer to this question. And MySQL goes, I've already got the answer. There it is. We've taken all the processing and we've said it's already been pre-calculated. I just need somewhere to host the data.
Okay. I mean that makes sense. That makes sense to me. But in an analytics environment, does it make sense to put it in?
How do you mean, sorry?
I don't know. It's like when we need to query stuff like that. So this is more about saving money than because it takes more time. Or it takes more.
No, not at all. No, this part here is how you would actually do it. You'd say, radio. So you'd go, let's say that they were a bigger company. We'd go out to the business people and we'd say, what things do you want answered about your customers? And they would say, I want to know how players are progressing through the level. I want to know where they're getting stuck. I want to know what levels they're playing, what versions is doing everything on, or what devices they're doing it on, so I can see which device has a bit of a problem.
Yeah.
And we go, cool, we'll answer that question because we have a SQL query that answers that question. We'll pre-populate that answer, all the data for you, which is now being open for analysis. We've got a whole bunch of time series data. We push that data into somewhere else, and now someone can look through that data very, very, very fast. If you've got loads of data and you're trying to run a complex query over it, then it takes a long time. There's a lot of room for error there.
And so if we wanted to add a new thing, like a new if we think about MySQL's tables sort of as views into the
Spark.
Into the Spark.
Yep, absolutely.
Data.
Yep.
Because we don't have access to all the data in MySQL, how difficult will it be to expand upon what data we can show in MySQL?
Simple.
Just as easy as adding a table.
It's as simple as adding another table. But if you go, I've got this, I've got my player pathways already done, and I want to adjust that player pathways to have an extra field or two. What's really cool about this part over this override here is actually just a drop table and recreate table. So it just gets rid of everything for us. It says, hey, here's a new whole table for you. So if we run this again, because we've got override, the table actually got dropped.
Okay, so I don't know. I feel like that I didn't answer. Like I didn't ask the right question. Or should I just hold that for later?
I possibly hold it for later, but I do want you to make sure that you understand what's going on before we do it. So I prefer you keep on clarifying this to make sure that I'm explaining it correctly.
Okay.
But if you're saying, hey, are we kind of using Spark as a way to as a view over the top of our existing database, then absolutely, that's exactly what we're doing.
Okay.
But if you try and run a view over a complex set of data, and that view was a complex query, then it takes a long time to run that view.
But if we're doing stuff like analytics is usually for reporting, right?
Reporting and predictive stuff.
I mean, for predictive, it makes for a lot of sense to push this pre-populated data into a fast place where we can query it really quickly. But for stuff like reporting, wouldn't it be just as efficient to get DataBricks to do the calculations for it and create the report and stuff?
So it depends. It depends on what the report is. So these queries we've written up here, you would not take these ones into Unity. Like, how many users do we have per level?
Because these are easy to...
Because these just run straight here. If you want to look at them, come into DataBricks and have a look at them. You could export them into Unity as well, so you could have this information there.
Okay, so it's like really complicated queries that we want to pre-populate.
Yeah.
But we're using this as an example.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, cool.
So let's say we wanted to have a level that actually did this. So we've got a unit inside DataBricks. Let's say we wanted to build a heat map of where players were going over our level and where they're getting stuck. We could do that in here, but pretend that you could set your own image as a background here. We could have the X and Y coordinates that a player has been clicking on, and then we could say that they're clicking here on the image, and we can kind of see top down how people were going through it. But what if we had a level that actually had another floor on it? If I can do this easy enough. Whoa. There we go. Did the player click on top of there, or did the player click underneath it? You wouldn't know, because from a reporting point of view in DataBricks, you would only be able to see it from a top down or from a sideways. Whereas if you wanted to see where exactly the enemy was in relation to where the player got spotted, or is there nobody going up onto this spot because there's no secret item up there, or there's no health pack or something. So we put a health pack up there, now people have a reason to go up to that spot.
True.
Does that help a bit more?
Yeah. So, I've sort of got a follow-up question.
Yep, go for it.
What's the longest running query you've had to do?
Longest running query?
Yeah, what would you say?
Wow, 15 to 16 hours?
That's a long time. You'd want that data pre-populated.
You'd want that pre-populated, yeah. It's, hey, I want to, let's say I wasn't the person who was consuming that answer, and it was someone... The fun part about analytics is that you ask a question, and if you've got a robust enough solution, it should prompt you to ask another question. You never just have one question. You say, I've got one question, you get the answer, and that usually leads you to 2 to 3 more questions. So if you go, hey, I've got this question and I'm going to run it, and it's going to take 15 hours to run it, and you get the answer, and you go, now I've got 3 more questions out of that, and also I want to tweak my query to be a bit different. So you've got another 15 hours to run that initial query to be slightly different.
But how can you be sure that all the questions you want to ask have data pre-populated for them?
That just comes over time. You start off with one, you go, hey, it would be interesting to know insert next thing. And so that'll lead you to writing the next one, and the next one, and the next one.
Okay, fair enough. No, cool. Alright, that makes sense.
All good?
Yes.
Cool. Alright, so what are we going to do over the next few videos? Blah, blah, that was really fast. What are we going to do over the next few videos? We are going to get our data ready to be visualized inside of Unity. And Unity needs somewhere to connect to, so it's going to go to a web API. and that web API needs to get the data from somewhere, so it's going to pull it from our MySQL database, and MySQL needs to get some data from somewhere, so Spark is going to write it there. Spark is going to pre-calculate things that we want to have.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to say pre-calculate things. All it really means is just it's a sum. Sum of thing that happened. So what are we going to be looking at? Let's go %md hash. What did I call it here? Write that into MySQL. I've already got that. Player pathways. Queries to help visualize player pathways in Unity. And if that's what we're doing, then we are going to need some queries to write. What size text did we use above? The same level, wasn't it? It was hash. Triple hash. I'm going to put 4 hashes, see if it makes it a little bit smaller.
I think it will.
We're going to use player path by click.
Oh, italics.
Italics. It's going to go away. I need some more pluses symbols here, so give me some more space, please, Spark. There we go. Player path by click, player path by time, player path by distance, and finally we want to see where were our players spotted. So we'll call this one player spotted by enemy. So we're going to write a query for each of these to pull the data that we would need to answer these things, stick them into MySQL, so then we can ask specifically of MySQL, hey, show me where players were clicking. Hey, show me where players were in the level over time. Show me where players were spotted by the enemy. Yeah.
Sounds cool.
Sounds very cool. I am going to finish this. We will finish this video here, and in the next one we'll get started to writing the queries for this.
Sweet beans.
Sweet beans.